Hey, what up? Welcome to the Verbal Journal Podcast, episode 146. And it's a public episode, so welcome to the public. So glad you could join us for our regularly scheduled programming. Not always regular, a good regular program also has a little bit of irregularity in there. We skipped last week, so that's the chaos. And then the order is that we're back this week, and that's a reference. We'll get to that. Obviously took the week off so I could put out the new video. More about that soon. I edited hardcore last weekend, so I wasn't just sitting around twiddling my friggin' face. You know what I mean? I was actually editing. So that's why we skipped a week. Also, I can do I can do that. I can do what I want. The rules here at the podcast are flexible. Well, other than that, what else before we get into it? Public skipped a week. Let me just tell you what we got on the agenda here. Obviously, I'm going to talk about the new video about the chair company. Gonna just talk about that. Maybe review some comments. That's always fun. Do some other stuff about the channel, then fly through some Goodish news of the week of 2 weeks. I got tons of great headlines. There's a lot of bad news, but we're gonna fly through the Goodish news, kind of get acquainted with reality a little bit. Then we got a few kind of miscellaneous segments that are new. We got an FYI segment, a Twitter promotion segment. We're actually being paid by Twitter. Apparently they're having some problems, so I'll be promoting Twitter, highlighting several tweets that kind of shine a light on the wonderful community there. And then we will have the comedy about headline segment. This is not something I normally do. Normally I just say, hey, this is something going on in the world. I'll actually be making a joke during that segment. And then we have the return of a great segment that people used to be huge fans of, the Chief Executive Officer segment. We got some really fun news in the world of Chief Executive Officers. And research segment. We got some nice research to go over. Then we'll have some meditation, a really jam-packed image segment, and a freaking great audiovisual segment. Then some follow-ups, mailbag. Improv. Probably might skip the improv because we got a jam-packed pod today, but we'll see how I feel when I get there. Thanks to the patrons and the members for keeping this all going. You all give me your hard-earned money, a couple bucks a month. It adds up. It helps. I make money from my day job, obviously, of being a therapist, but hey, it helps. Get a little money for all this content. So if you got money to spare, feel free to toss it my way, and if you don't want to, I totally get that. I respect that, actually. I actually respect that even more than giving me money, because it shows really healthy boundaries. Okay, so that's pretty much good, right? I mean, we can get right into it now. I mean, better late than never. Better now than later, also. So the big news of the day. Oh, I like to do this before we get started. This was the previous episode. Just to kind of make you acquainted. We talked about a lot of different stuff. We did some, really interesting things. I shouldn't always give my take on things globally because I don't always know what's going on, but I sort of give just like a vague assessment. Oh yeah, I was really bothered by this. I never got an answer on that. That's definitely not a Dali painting, and someone was just pretending it is. There's no way that's a Dali painting. So that if you have any info about that, please follow up verbaljournalpodcast@gmail.com because we never got an answer on what was going on there. Okay, so yeah, that was the previous episode. Let's get into the current episode. So, new video out. Okay, this is the horizontal integration segment where I integrate with the main channel. So, new video, we got Baby right here. New video was great. So happy with it. It's come out. It's a good amount of length. Audio came out good. Video came out good. I put a lot of time into the editing. The challenge is, obviously I already gathered a lot of these Breaking Bad clips. A lot of them. But I had to gather them again. I'm pretty organized about how I gather things, but I gather them for a particular video. I don't itemize them by like episode number and, season number. So really when I'm doing another video, even though this video wasn't about Breaking Bad, it was mostly about the chair company and it just like talked about Breaking Bad. It's still, I had to regather all those Breaking Bad clips. Also, you have to regather them because what's most helpful is to gather them in the order of the script. So that's something I started doing, a few videos ago. When I gather the clips, I actually do it by going through the script and gathering them linearly or whatever, chronologically in order. That makes it way easier when you're editing. But that does mean that you're gathering clips sometimes out of order of those clips. So maybe it means I'm going into this episode of Breaking Bad and gathering a clip, then that episode of The Chair Company and gathering a clip, then back to Breaking Bad. So I do split it up actually by first I gather all the clips for The Chair Company, then all the clips for Breaking Bad, so I'm not jumping around. But even then, you're jumping around episodes, sometimes back and forth to the same episode. But it's worth it later when you're editing. So anyways, that's just a little insight into the editing process. But yeah, I'm super happy with the video, didn't trip the copyright censors. I'm very particular, very careful about how long I edit the clips for. By the way, a little promotion on my Patreon. I started a new thing. No one signed up for it yet, but for like $75 a month, I'll do a video call with you for 30 minutes and help you with a video project or an art project. So if you're hearing me give these tips and you're like, whoa, that guy knows about content, you know what I mean? Hit me up. No pressure. It's not like you need that, you know what I mean? But just trying to find some alternative sources of income. Obviously, Lewis was a great connection. The fact that the chair company had like a fairly similar Lewis character. Like really, I mean, it's like it was fairly similar. I don't, you didn't have to stretch that hard to be like these Lewises are kind of similar. I'll talk about the title. Oh, wait, there was something else I was just going to say. Well, I'll get to that. The title was not originally going to be The Chair Company is Breaking Bad. It was going to be The Chair Company, Breaking Bad, and Purpose. And look, that's like a fine video essay title. A lot of people would do that. But I had it that way for weeks. And then I was like coming up on the day of release, I'm like, that's not that good. I mean, it's just not that good. It's boring. I mean, Purpose is a little bit boring. We all want to hear someone talk about it, but no one thinks they do. So no one's going to click on a video about Purpose. Also, 2 commas in a title is not ideal. I don't even know, you should only have a comma in the title if you really need it. I mean, think about how many movies have a comma in the title. Not that many. Probably. I don't know. It's not common. It's not common. So I really thought, that's not good. So I just figured out a way. Okay, the chair company is Breaking Bad. Now that's not really what the video was about. It's more nuanced. You know what I mean? It's more nuanced than that. But sometimes you got to strip the nuance from the title. So there's a lesson in that for me and you. Should we look through a few comments? Oh, you all cracked me up. You all cracked me up on the comments. You cracked me up. You really did. Because I complain about someone saying guy who's only seen Breaking Bad. And they were obviously saying it in a jokey, funny way. And I complain about it. So everyone keeps commenting guy who's only seen this or guy who's only seen that. Hilarious. You all were cracking me up. Simply Snaps. We're all looking for the guy that did this. So you all are cracking me up. Love it. Young Sheldon is The Wire. That's my next video. Just kidding. I've never seen The Wire. So thank you all. You crack me up. You're funny. You're very cool. And you're very nice. And yes, thank you for, I'm sorry, I'm sure it's so weird to see your own comment put in a video. This person is a great sport about it. If that were me, I'd be super oh my God, my comment was in the video. You know what I mean? But yeah, they're a great sport. Thank you about it. Cause I didn't know, should I blur out their name? But I'd only blur out their name if I was criticizing them. I would, I'd only do that. And even these days, I don't know if I would do that, but I wouldn't put someone's username in my video if I was criticizing them and they were just some average random YouTube commenter. I think. But yeah, I'm glad they were cool about it. That would have freaked me out. I've had that happen before, like right into a podcast I like, and then they read it, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm so nervous. You know what I mean? Even though it's like, why? Why? It's just parasocial and strange. But they were, yeah, like I said, they were a good sport about it. So yeah, very thank you very much. Lewis is the best character. I agree. Um, People having a good time. So I'm very happy that you all enjoyed it, and keep on watching it. I'm hoping it gets lots of views, but so far the views have been good, and it'll keep going. So that's good. Yeah, maybe I'll do a live stream, talk more about it. I'm not really sure. I don't have a ton more to say because I did the bonus video for patrons and members. So if you're a member of the main channel, the What's Therapy channel, or if you're a patron, you obviously saw that there's a extra thing about chair company, extra thoughts about the chair company. It looks pretty similar to what you're watching now, except I was talking all about the chair company and things that didn't make it into the video. So if you're interested in that, you could go over to the Patreon or the memberships of the main channel. Podcast is becoming one big advertisement. Love it. Love it. Okay, so next up on the horizontal integration segment, we talk about other things related to the main channel. Not just the new video. I don't know what else to say about the new video. I talked for 45 minutes in a bonus video about the chair company. There's a lot, you know what I mean? It's if you have questions, you can write in. I don't know what else to say about it. But it's been great. It was really good. I really powered through with that video. That was like 3 weeks or something. I mean, that was really like, that was really 3 weeks beginning to end, I think, like watching the entire series, writing a script. Like it was many hours of just like, just working really hard. So, but I did it, and I did it fairly quick. So that was good. I will say, okay, here's the one thing I'll say about it. Like, it's hard to find that line of like, how much do I go into this? Like the one part in the video where I start delineating the different types of purpose-seeking behaviors, and like, oh, you could look for more silly or more dominating or more practical. Like, realistically, that's a very like half-formed part. And like, if I wanted to, I would have to put a lot more work into like analyzing these characteristics and comparing and contrasting. But I'm like half joking. So I don't want to, there's an amount of work where it becomes absurd and still good. I mean, it is absurd already that I did that much work about it, but there's just an amount of work where like the absurdity is worth it. So I didn't really feel compelled to go into more time and detail, look at more characters, analyze in more detail. But I guess the thing I wanted to say also is like just the question of like, where does a video essay come from? Like, why do I do that? It's like any art. Like I really do, some of my videos are obviously a little more serious, and some are quite serious, and some will be quite more serious. I have a few that I'm working on that are quite serious. And so maybe it's jarring to people. I genuinely could see that because I have videos where I'm like dead serious, and I certainly will in the future. And then I have videos that are like almost completely a joke. And this one, Chair Company, is really in the middle where I'm like kind of joking, but also kind of serious. And the joke is almost just like how serious I am. But also aspects of it are fully a joke too. So, but I guess for me, really, like it is like a channel. My channel is a channel. It's a thing where a lot of different programs can be on. It's not just one program. So okay, so my computer's just freaked out, but I didn't lose what I recorded. That's really good. Wow. My computer just went to sleep. Like, it's never done this, but it's so overwhelmed. Like, the GPU is just overwhelmed. I pulled up the task manager. Do you ever notice this? When you pull up the task manager and you start looking at how your computer is working, the GPU usage, the CPU usage, it starts changing. It starts getting more, like, appropriate. It starts getting more satisfactory. It, like, goes in the direction you want it to go when you start looking at it. It's not always true, but sometimes I'm like the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Like, I'm looking at my task manager and making it act different when I look at it. So when I look at it now, there's something called desktop window manager using a bunch of my GPU. And then it's just, yeah, I don't know. I guess the GPU usage keeps vacillating from like 18, 20% to like 100. So I don't know if you know anything about GPU usage and how to get, but this is a good laptop. It's a laptop, but it's got like a lot on it. I balled out for it. I used some of that Breaking Bad video money and got this laptop originally because I was like getting into live streaming, which I don't do that much anymore. But anyway, so hopefully we're back on here. Are we on, Donna? Are we recording? You don't know? What do you do here as the producer, actually? I've been meaning to ask you that. Because I've been putting more and more on the dock. Now's not the time. What gives you the authority to say that, though, even? Well, can you get like a tech guy or something? Can we get a tech guy? We used to have a fashion guy. We've had writers, editors, and we can't get a tech guy. This is a tech-based podcast. It's not one of your analog podcasts. That's a great idea. An analog podcast. Like, I know podcasts will do like live performances, but like a podcast that only happens without the interface of digital technology. I guess that's just that's hanging out, I guess, is what that is. That's hanging out with your friends, essentially. Or hanging out with strangers. It could be, I don't know. Yeah, well, anyways, look. So here, we're still in the horizontal integration segment. We'll power through. We'll see what's up. So yeah, the other thing I wanted to talk about related to the main channel is I did a video on the ICE Reddit page. And they went private after I did that. Not because of my video, probably. Just it happened to line up with them getting more attention. And they didn't like it because they were just trying to ask why HR never emails them back. And they were getting other people commenting more often, hey, you should really have a sense of conscience about the pain that you're inflicting on communities and individuals who are citizens of our country or residents of our country. And so they didn't like that. It was making them sad. So they went private. They sort of, they barricaded themselves in. But then they went public again. So they're public again. Like, look, you could look at this user called Enslaved Nation who's joining ICE. But apparently haven't had a call back in a while, so that's unfortunate. Back in December. That's last month. Okay, 2 months ago now, technically. But okay, and lastly on the horizontal integration segment, I did this post a week ago. I just thought I'd follow up on it. It's so funny how many people see these posts. Because if I do a post promoting my podcast, YouTube doesn't show it to anyone. But if I do a post, or a post promoting any other channel, YouTube doesn't do it. I think they are worried about you spamming if you're doing stuff like that. But if I post my thoughts about something, it goes out to thousands of people and gets hundreds of likes. So I talked about how fascism is bad for art. And I just wanted to, I thought it was, it was nice to see people's reactions. This person said, look at the Italian futurists. That's a great, great point. And it's such a good example. Italian futurists, the futurist was like a very early movement in the early 20th century. It was very interesting aesthetically. It was about sort of showing maybe like trains, cars, like other things that are symbolic of the modern world at that time and depicting movement. In some ways, it was like, you could associate it with like Marcel Duchamp's like nude descending a staircase, but Marcel Duchamp was actually creative and not just like an obsessive ideological person. But the futurists were obsessed with only doing art that depicted motion, or that to me, it's very like deductive, their form of art. Like, okay, here's our idea of how art should be. Let's always do it that way. That's not how real artists work, in my opinion. And so futurism is bizarre, in my opinion. Like, a lot of it does look really boring and repetitive. And that's one thing Marcel Duchamp would never be, is repetitive. That's why he stopped painting for decades. But yeah, futurism, it is always interesting, because I was always like, oh, I don't really like this art, but it's very like out there and weird. Like, I feel like I should like it. And then I learned that they were working from this principle rather than just kind of like doing art and doing what they want to do. You know, we always have some principles, and this is something that comes up in the videos too, like the balance of working from principles and working towards principles. I think that's what life is all about in some ways, like being a cognitive creature. Like, so yeah, some movements like are so fixed on their principles that the art is repetitive, and futurists are a great example of that. And they were fascists. They were supportive of fascism. Like, they were early fascists. You know, before fascism had a super negative connotation because it hadn't been played out to its logical conclusion with Mussolini, Franco, and the gentleman named Adolf Hitler. So great comment. This is great. If art didn't have power, the state wouldn't try to control it. Absolutely. So this person says we also saw this in USSR, China, Venezuela. Yeah, I mean, I referenced totalitarianism in my post because absolutely, like, socialist realism is not a great. I don't like socialist realism. I think it's similar to futurism in the sense that it's like all deductive based on this, like, oh, art has to look this certain way. Art has to depict these types of things. To me, that's ridiculous. I still think socialist realism is like has better qualities than most fascist art. But in my post, I'm not really even talking necessarily about like state-sponsored art. I'm talking more about the political ideology of the people making the art. So, like when they say the current fascist America still produces some of the most and highest arts in the entire world, but that's not fascist artists. So I could have been more clear, but it's usually not like actually fascist artists. You know, there are fascist artists like Salvador Dali was a fascist. He was supportive of the the Spanish fascists. I'm sorry. And he was a fascist. I mean, he really was. And you can kind of tell looking at his art, not just in the way he like symbolically depicted Hitler and stuff, but also just like, you can sort of see a fascist aesthetic, the complete focus on like purity in some of his like depictions. You can just kind of see that come through. Like, Dali used to be my favorite artist. And I didn't stop liking him just because he's a fascist. I grew out of it. I just like other art. I don't find his stuff the most interesting to me. But the fact that he's a fascist really did spoil it a lot. There was when I went on my trip to Europe a year ago, There was one, I believe he was a Czech artist, and he was really, his work was very good. And then I found out he was a fascist. You know, one of the museum plaques mentioned he was a Nazi. And I was like, oh, that sucks, you know. And I've never tried to look him up again. And it's not like anyone's telling me not to, or like I even feel like I wish I could, but I can't because he's a fascist. Like, I lose my taste for it. You know, I lose my taste. Like, when someone does things, like when they sour themselves in my eyes, it's a little bit hard sometimes. Like, you know, this isn't a friend or family member. You know what I mean? This is just some random person I don't need to have in my life. So it's like, you know, there's a lot more forgiveness and acceptance for loved ones. I don't really care about some random artist. I don't care about, you know, I don't need to listen to Michael Jackson. I don't, you know, it's not fascism, but, you know, other bad behaviors. Like, I don't need to watch The Cosby Show, or like, I actually used to like, you know, Louis C.K. Like, I don't feel like I'm depriving myself by not watching him. Again, not fascism. I'm just saying, like, other bad behaviors. I don't feel super compelled to you know, pursue stuff like that. But my point really is that, like, just the ideology of the person themselves, like, it's not just, like, it's more complicated than I said in my post. It's a lot of different factors coming together. Like, the factors that create someone's ideology also create their motivation to pursue talents, and those factors can be very complicated. But, like, people who are socialist minded are more in touch with reality, in my opinion. Are more in touch with reality because socialism is about doing politics that help the greater mass of people. And like if you support fascism, you are delusional because you probably actually think it would help people. But it doesn't. It helps a very, very small minority of people, and then it hurts a lot of people. So, but yeah, I'm not a fan of socialist realism, and that's why I tried to phrase my comment in that way. Nonetheless, as far as state-sponsored art goes, socialist realism is better than what the Nazis were doing. Even though the Nazis, like, it does, I find it so funny that they did that whole exhibit of degenerate art. They really made all these artists like even more famous that they supposedly didn't like, you know, Max Ernst and, you know, so many other surrealists and stuff. But like, yeah, I do think the like the state sponsored art, like Hitler's paintings were like kind of very kitschy and like almost worthless. I mean, there's a lot of socialist realism like that too, but it was just, yeah, okay, but yeah, obviously I just think, you know, art is about doing what you want and what's right for you. And I think, like, I don't know, people who have socialist politics are more attuned to, like, the common person's experience. And so, like, their drives drive them in more interesting directions to depict things that are more relevant to more people, in my opinion. This person who's quoting me saying I try to stay out of politics, I think they misunderstood because that was a joke. I was joking when I said that. I don't know how you would misunderstand that if you've seen my videos, but and I feel like I said that at the end of a thing where I talked about politics, but okay. I was 100% joking when I said I try to stay out of politics. Okay, I wanted to lastly respond to this person because they're saying unearned because I said fascism is based on unearned nationalism. So unearned nationalism, you know, people give good responses, but unearned, yes, it's unearned because not all nationalism is bad. Nationalism of Indonesia in the 50s, you know, is different than nationalism of the United States in the 2020s. Like, there's, like, nationalism means different things depending on the context. So, yeah, that was my point. It's unearned. It's not necessary. So, yeah, I think internationalism is good for countries that have, like, been historically dominating the rest of the world. They don't need to focus more on their sovereignty. They need to focus more on the sovereignty of other countries and respect it more. So, cool. So that's the horizontal integration segment, a little bit of a special occasion, a little bit of a more elaborate horizontal integration. Okay, my computer's like freaking out. Like that whole last part I recorded, the audio was shifted from the video like multiple seconds, like 4 seconds. So hopefully when you watched it, I was able to shift it back. But I'm really worried that it was shifting at a like changing pace. In which case, when I edit this, it will be impossible to like keep shifting it over. Because if the GPU is slowing it down progressively, it'll just be like always a different amount off of the video. So like, just to be clear, like, I wish this wasn't happening, but this is kind of good to explain. This is part of why I don't do a ton of videos. There's always tech stuff. And there's there's always annoying tech stuff. And you shouldn't give up on things you want to do because of obstacles, but sometimes they get in the way. And like, you know, I was exporting the chair company video and it just wouldn't work. And this happens with like all my videos now. I guess, you know, it says like you don't have enough space. Like I have literally like 100 gigabytes. Yeah, no, I think it was like 800 or almost 1,000 gigabytes free on this like hard drive. Anyways, there's always tech stuff, and it's like, you know, and then I like changed some of the encoding, whatever parameters. But anyways, this is annoying. Luckily, since my computer's having such a hard time today, the next segment is one where I have 50 tabs open. So let's see how that goes. And they wouldn't all even open, so we'll see how that goes. This is the Goodish News segment where we fly through Goodish News of the day. This is not a news podcast, but let's fly through some Goodish News of the day. Okay, I thought we had a window capture turned on. No? Think we did. Okay. All right. I'm not blaming my producer for once because I will say, I mean, it is your fault for not hiring a tech guy, though. That's your fault. A tech guy would get this, you know. Okay. Goodish news of the day. Top U.S. Catholic cardinals question morality of American foreign policy. You do like to see it. Democrats successfully strip all anti-trans riders from final appropriation bills. U.S. judge orders former Chemtrex executive to pay back ill-gotten gains. So, I like that. I don't like people to be able to keep their ill-gotten gains. The Goon Squad ICE is freeing some detained families despite vowing zero releases. So they are releasing dozens of immigrant families when they have to admit that they've illegally detained people and illegally stripped people's freedoms. U.S. troops could disobey questionable orders, Catholic Archbishop says. So I do just like that religious leaders are, communicating about this. I think it's helpful. Jury finds Chicago man not guilty of circulating $10,000 bounty on life of top Border Patrol leader Greg Bovino. Apparently, it's not illegal to send Snapchats where you're just like joking around or speculating. So that's good. Homicide rate declines sharply in dozens of U.S. cities, a new report shows. And the even better part about this is everyone gets to pretend it's it's because of what they did. Everyone gets to claim credit, no matter who you are. I think it was all me. I did this with my podcast. But yeah, good to have less homicide. 7 lawmakers quit Geert Wilder's far-right party in stunning setback for Dutch anti-Islam firebrand. Sucks to suck. Okay, that article somehow got deleted. Appeals court rejects Justice Department's push to charge more people over Minnesota church demonstration. More than the several that they already have wrongfully charged. U.S. judge blocks Republican President Donald Trump's administration from ending legal status of 8,400 migrants in this particular way. Ending legal status. Haven't really gotten to talk to any of my centrist or Republican family members about this one. Oh, you're against illegal immigration. How do you feel about turning legal migrants into illegal migrants? How do you feel about that one? Oh, I don't know if the president does it. Texas black man exonerated nearly 70 years after execution in case marked by racial bias. UN human rights chief urges United States to uphold international law and immigration crackdown. I agree. Minneapolis residents shelter immigrant children separated from parents and sought by federal agents. That's good. Ish. Judge grants order barring feds from altering or destroying evidence in Preddy shooting. That's the murder of Alex Preddy that was recently inflicted by the United States government. Healthcare providers at Mayo Clinic walk out in protest of ICE and Customs and Border Patrol operations. Yeah, most people don't like this stuff. Republican President Donald Trump's immigration approval drops to record low. Minnesota Republican gubernatorial, that's governor candidate, Chris Madell drops out, faulting Republican President Donald Trump's immigration policy. So Republicans literally can't even run for office anymore. Again, fascism didn't have a bad name until people saw where it led to. People have really poor foresight. We're animals at the end of the day. We have foresight, but we're animals. So, people just are stupid as fuck. You know what I mean? People are just really stupid sometimes. I'm not saying, misanthropically, everyone's stupid. I'm saying we're animals. We're as stupid as we are smart. We're only smart compared to how stupid we are. And, yeah, a lot of people are just I don't know. I didn't see it coming. Oh, I don't know. Oh, I don't know. I didn't see it coming. It's my impression of a Republican. or a centrist. Tesla, the the company owned by the double salute guy from the inauguration stage, Tesla loses another manufacturing director as Exodus continues, but it's just a manufacturing director, who's been there 8 years. That's not, it's not like it's anyone important or anything like that. Sucks to suck. Greg Bovino loses his job. Whoa. Sad little baby. Lindsay Halligan is no longer employed by the Justice Department after her departure from Virginia U.S. Attorney's Office. Halligan, who had stepped down from her post in the Eastern District of Virginia after a judge ruled she was, quote, masquerading as a U.S. attorney. Yeah, well, that's just a judge ruling that she's masquerading as a U.S. attorney. She might not be. Have you ever considered that maybe loyalists are actually the most qualified for jobs? Because loyalty is all that matters. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I do not believe that loyalty is an ethical virtue. I believe anything you do out of loyalty could be done out of a different virtue. And I believe that, let me say that more clear. Anything good and ethical that is done out of loyalty could be done just as well out of a different virtue. Compassion, consideration, temperance, moderation, any other virtue. And anything bad that's done out of loyalty shouldn't be done and is bad. And a lot of things are bad that are done out of loyalty. So I do not believe, and I am open to being proven wrong. This is why I keep saying it, because I'm hoping someone will mention it. My friend told me the other day something he did out of loyalty, and I was like, that's just because you love that person. Or that's just that person, did something really supportive for you, and so you felt that they value you and you want to be, you want to be mutualistic and show support to them. Why is that loyalty? You were just doing something good for someone else who did something good for you. Is that loyalty? Is that not just you were doing something that you already thought was good? And you went out of your way to do something that was good for them, but you already knew it was the right thing to do. So you were doing it because it was just. It's not because it was loyalty. And if you were doing it for them, but it was not appropriate, and you were doing it out of loyalty, it wouldn't be appropriate. And it wouldn't be right just because it was done out of loyalty. Think about how many things are done out of loyalty that are completely wrong and should not be done. So anyways, we have all these loyalists in the administration. They're completely incompetent. And luckily, so far, our liberal democracy is shaking in its bones, but it's still got its bones a little bit. Justice Department drops charges accusing person of assaulting an officer. So that's great. I love when people are not charged for not committing crimes. U.S. judge threatens goon squad chief with contempt and orders court appearance. This immediately led to... sorry, I don't have my articles in order. We'll get to what it led to in a second. But it was effective, I'll just say that. Philip Glass, famous renowned composer, cancels Kennedy Center Symphony premiere in protest of Republican Donald Trump's leadership. Just another one who doesn't want to be affiliated with the disgusting politics. School materials enter Gaza after being blocked for 2 years. Talk about good-ish news. I mean, the Zionist ethno-state of Israel is continuing to murder Palestinians in their homes and in these prisons, in these open-air prisons that Israel has forced them into over decades. How many people were murdered this weekend? 30, 50 Palestinians? That's just how Israel celebrates the weekend. Someone stop them. And all these fucking losers who think they hate Israel but then support the Republican president, Donald Trump. Do you not understand? You think Israel's committing international crimes, but you support Republicans in the United States. I mean, Democrats obviously have been complicit in Israel's crimes. The point is, you need to push back also against international crimes, whether they be conducted by Israel, Republicans, or Democrats. But if you support the Republicans in the United States, you are supporting the flouting of international law. There are members of the Democratic Party who believe in international law. There are more. Police department in Montana's capital city exits drug task force over border patrol involvement. Japanese American soldiers once branded enemy aliens promoted posthumously. That's right, these people were considered enemy aliens while they were fighting for our country. We've not come a long way. Judge blocks goon squad from deporting or transferring 5-year-old Liam Conejo Ramos and his father. We need a judge to step in to say, don't deport this 5-year-old and their father. ICE agents blocked from entering Ecuadorian consulate in Minneapolis. DHS officers who shot Alex Preddy and murdered him were placed on administrative leave. So this is in the Goodish news segment because it would be worse if this were not the case. It would be worse if they were not placed on administrative leave. U.S. judge blocks Republican President Donald Trump's policy targeting Minnesota's refugees. This is 5,600 lawful refugees who are awaiting green cards. So add that to the 8,600 legal migrants we referenced earlier, and that's just this past 2 weeks. 14,000, people just in those two cases who were legally here, and a judge had to step in and be like, they're fucking legally here, you idiots. Yeah, something happened with my archiving thing, so all the headlines, now I have to click them. U.S. Appeals Court says Nome's decision to end protection for Venezuelans in the U.S. was illegal. This is even more people who were legally here. Hundreds of thousands of people were legally here. That the judges had to step in and say, you racist fucks, they're legally here. Dutch government is ordered to protect residents in Caribbean island of Bonaire from climate change. This is a fantastic ruling. Hopefully it has broad-reaching implications. So yeah, obviously this is a history of Dutch colonization, and they're saying, oh, you wanted to colonize it? You're responsible for taking care of these people. Judge rules Bank of America must face lawsuit over Jeffrey Epstein ties. Fantastic. They profit off his child trafficking. Seemingly. Judge bars federal prosecutors from seeking death penalty against Luigi Mangione. It's good. I don't believe in the death penalty. U.S. judge temporarily blocks end of Ethiopians' deportation protections. These are people who have been having temporary protections. Thousands of people. 5,000 people. Over 5,000 people. That the government was trying to deport, even though they had legal protections. Could you imagine if that was you or someone you loved? U.S. federal court says Energy Department climate group violated law. This is one of those groups of charlatans that idiots don't realize that this Republican government is putting together. Complete idiots and losers apparently don't realize that it's not cool to create a group that's completely built off of climate deniers. Climate change deniers. 5 climate change skeptics are not a climate working group make, according to a judge. Do not a climate working group make. California Chief Justice steps up monitoring of immigration arrests at courthouses. Yeah. So they used to not be able to arrest immigrants at courthouses until this Republican administration, which was good because there's over 10 million undocumented migrants in the U.S., right? And if they are, many of them must be victims of laws, victims of illegal actions. Many of these undocumented people, right? There's 10 million. Many of them obviously are victims of crimes, right? Do you think those victims of crimes should have their day in court? Or do you want people who commit crimes against undocumented people to not be held accountable? Personally, I believe in law and order. I actually think that people should be held accountable for their crimes even when those crimes are committed against an undocumented person, I don't think that means they shouldn't be held accountable for their crimes, whether they're labor crimes, violent crimes, whatever. But if you're an undocumented person, you're going to be very dissuaded against trying to hold someone accountable for committing a crime against you if you can't even feel like you can go to the courthouse. That's just the courthouses, let alone schools, hospitals. So many fucking losers in our country. So many fucking losers. Judge blocks additional citizenship provisions in latest setback to Republican President Donald Trump's election executive order. They're not allowed to ask about citizenship status when distributing voter registration forms. You can't vote if you're not a citizen, obviously. Canadian company says Virginia warehouse sale to ICE won't proceed. Judge calls Justice Department statements on slavery exhibit display dangerous and horrifying. They just they literally just don't want us. They think they can change history, and they think that people are stupid as fuck. Oh, let's just not tell people about slavery because it makes them feel bad. You want to know the number of times I've felt personally responsible for slavery? Not many. Young people are protesting ICE and reenacting immigration raids in online gaming platform Roblox. So that's cool. Kids are good. Okay, I had a little tech issue here, so I have the tabs open, but I'm not sure. I might have had duplicates here. Attorney General Ken Paxton cannot shut down Texas Latino voting group, judge rules, as much as he might dream of it. St. Peter police chief intervenes, prevents federal agents from arresting resident. The police chief had to intervene after, and by the way, resident is the wrong word. This is also known as citizen in this case, but resident should be enough. This is a woman who is a citizen. 3 federal agents pointing guns at a woman who's just there, not doing anything wrong, not violating any crime. 3 goons just started pointing guns at her. And we're all lucky that they didn't murder her. They just started yelling at her. One of them said, "I'm not getting into the legality of everything." That should be a quote for this entire administration. The woman's husband had to show up, and then eventually she was arrested for not doing it. She didn't do anything wrong, and then the police chief had to intervene. Luckily, her husband knew the police chief. And the police chief had to probably walked up to the ICE goons or their boss or their boss's boss and said, "Hey, do you have a good reason to arrest this woman?" And they were like, "Oh, I don't know, man. I'm just gonna go do more fucking drugs." And the police chief was like, "Okay." That's my assessment of what probably happened. Demonstrators in Milan protest ICE unit at Winter Olympics. See duplicates here, and then. Okay, yeah, there's 1 or 2 more. Let me just open these up 1 second. Okay, the audio doesn't seem to be getting unsynced anymore. That's a really nice surprise. Okay, 2 more Goodish news headlines, then we're on to the next segment. U.S. Justice Department misconduct complaint against Judge Boasberg gets tossed, so the U.S. Justice Department is not a fan of judges. And then lastly, on the Goodish news segment, it is good to see. Judge orders release of 5-year-old Liam Ramos, whose detention drew outrage. Apparently, I don't want to be cynical, but yeah, it's people just can be slow to wake up to things, but just seeing this kid in his little hat and backpack being used as bait by our government is too much for some people who otherwise might have been at brunch. They had to pay attention to this one too. And he's from Ecuador. Him who knows why he came over. I mean, he's probably been here a couple years. He's from Ecuador, right? It's just come on. I mean, I don't even know, you can't justify this. You can't justify this. Who fucking cares if he was undocumented? Who cares if his dad was undocumented? Are you kidding me? It goes, oh, we're going to go after the criminals. And then it's like, well, they're technically committing a crime. It's a civil violation, bro. In like most of these cases. You think that kid's committing a crime? You think his dad's committing a crime? Wanting to just like get a good paying job? U.S. fucked up all these other countries. It's tough, y'all. It's tough. So, we're getting through it. We are getting through it. We're facing obstacles, technological, political, moral. For this next segment, so now we're moving on into the miscellaneous part of this podcast. This is very fun. We don't always have such miscellanea. Errata. It's a reference. Okay, so this is a fun little miscellaneous segment, this is actually a miscellaneous section, actually, if to be more specific. And the first segment in this miscellaneous section is the FYI segment. So, some things are just FYI. I just wanted to kind of give you the old FYI, just kind of for your information. I just found something that I wanted to tell you just for your information, just so you know. Because I wouldn't want you to hang up from this podcast and not know what I'm about to tell you. Which is that Chief Goon, Greg Bavino, made disparaging remarks in reference to a U.S. attorney in Minnesota being an Orthodox Jew on a phone call with lawyers. Now, I know you're looking at this guy and you're saying, no, there is no way that guy is anti-Semitic. There is no way that guy's a fascist. There is no way that guy hates minorities. That is impossible to even imagine. And look, you can't judge people by their haircut. You can't say that guy's a fascist because of his haircut. You can't. But if there was a haircut that it was reasonable to say that person's a fascist because of the haircut, I think we know what haircut it would be. Anyways, just wanted you to know that this guy, Greg Bavino, obviously someone who's only powerful because of the current Republican Party. We have to be clear about that. There's always a spectrum of disgusting, evil behavior, and people like this at the lowest part of the spectrum are only in power now because of such a disgusting party of loyalists who want nothing more than money and power. Mr. Bovino, who has been the face of the Trump administration's immigration crackdown, used the term chosen people in a mocking way, according to people with knowledge of the call. He also asked sarcastically whether Mr. Rosen, a U.S. attorney in Minnesota, understood that Orthodox Jewish criminals don't take weekends off. So he used the term chosen people and disparaged this U.S. attorney for being Orthodox Jewish. Cool. This guy is... If you're watching this podcast in 20 years, you know this, but this guy's got a rough next 2 decades. He's got a rough time of it. His time in the sun is going to burn him. I can promise you that. Holy crap. The dude's going to have a rough go of it. That's just my foresight kicking in. Oh, Lord. Now, for our next segment is a Twitter promotion segment. So this is a segment where we're promoting Twitter, the website. A lot of people forget that Twitter's even a thing anymore. And so we've been paid a significant amount of money to kind of just promote Twitter and just kind of let you know Twitter's out there. You could read some tweets. You could check out Twitter. You could post a tweet. You know what I mean? You could read other people's posts on Twitter. For example, this one. Here's just one for today's segment. Someone says, Greg Bovino. Oh, that's the same guy from this phone call. Oh. Greg Bovino was caught by Mr. Combs in a high school bathroom jerking off to National Geographic magazines. Ask Greg if he remembers that. Okay? So you might not have heard about that, but that was making the rounds. Apparently people were posting on Facebook, which then get cross-posted to Twitter. And people were saying, apparently his high school teachers were saying that he was a strange little guy. And now there's nothing wrong with masturbating to National Geographic magazines in theory. You just shouldn't do it in your high school bathroom, for sure. That should be something for home. Okay, so that's great. Good to just kind of cover some of the. Do we have a little bonus Twitter thing? Donna, did you tell me about this before? We have a second tweet. I'm sorry. Okay, a second tweet has hit the segment. So we will be actually showing another tweet just to kind of promote. So Twitter doesn't just have one tweet. You know what I mean? You could see a lot of different things on Twitter. You could see one tweet, then you click over to a different page and you're looking at an entirely different tweet. That's kind of the fun thing about Twitter. There's a lot of different perspectives on there. And this one has nothing to do with Greg Bovino. So that's kind of a nice change of pace. Just kind of something to look at, just a tweet. It's an older tweet, too. It's from almost 10 years ago. Rand Paul, current senator, and was a senator back then, says, why do we have a Second Amendment? It's not to shoot deer. It's to shoot at the government when it becomes tyrannical. That's Republican Rand Paul saying that the Second Amendment is to shoot at the government when it becomes tyrannical. Okay. Interesting. Something he said 10 years ago. No context, just promoting Twitter. Nothing else really to think about here. Just something to, consider. If you want to hear perspectives on things, you could go to Twitter. You don't have to get all your information from my podcast. You could go to Twitter. So how much do I get for that segment, Donna? Do I see a pay bump for that, or does that just go to the higher ups? We'll talk about it after. We're going to have a long conversation after this podcast, I can tell you that. Okay, so next we have another segment in this miscellaneous section, and this is a fun one. So I talk about a lot of headlines, but I don't make a lot of jokes on this podcast, and that's been an ongoing problem that we've been getting a lot of people writing in about. So I thought it would be nice to kind of practice making jokes about headlines. So this is the comedy about headlines segment. Okay, ready? So I'm going to show a headline, and then I'm going to try to make a joke. Okay, so let's try this. Here we go. American sprinter Richardson arrested for speeding in Florida. Okay. Okay. There is a joke here. Okay. American sprinter arrested for speeding in Florida. So maybe she was just practicing. Oh wait, hold on. Let me try this again. American sprinter arrested for speeding in Florida. Okay. American sprinter Richardson arrested for speeding in Florida. Well, maybe someone should have told her she wasn't she wasn't training that day. Hold on. Let me try this again. American sprinter Richardson arrested for speeding in Florida. Well, I guess someone should have told her that she's only supposed to be sprinting on her feet. All right. Oh, I hit the wrong button there. I was just really excited. Sorry about that. That doesn't happen too often on the podcast, but that I think I nailed that. Am I right, or what's up? Okay. All right. I'm walking around a little bit more confident now after that item. Pretty cool. So now we got a big deal right now. And longtime fans of the pod will know about this. One of our most popular segments was after the passing of the United Health CEO, Brian Thompson, which people are considering to potentially have been the responsibility of Luigi Mangione, but obviously we'll wait to see what the court says. I felt like after that incident, CEOs were getting kind of a hard time. And so I made sure to just try to highlight, and I don't even usually call them CEOs. I call them chief executive officers because I think that's the more respectful way to refer to them. And I think CEO is a little bit of a slur. So I just say chief executive officer, put some respect there. And it's important to me to just kind of highlight good things about chief executive officers because they get a hard rap. People are like always cheering on when they die and stuff. And it's like, so I just wanted to kind of give them a little bit of positive attention, and just highlight some good things going on with chief executive officers. Goldman Sachs Chief Executive Officer David Solomon's 2025 compensation rose over 20%. So the Chief Executive Officer must have done a really good job and earned a 20% pay increase last year from the year before. So, but I think most of us got paid 20% more last year than we did the year before, right? If we really earned it, right? Did you not get a 20% raise at your job last year? Well, maybe you should apply for some of these chief executive officer jobs. There's a lot of openings. Next up on chief executive officers. So great job, David. Next up on chief executive officer segment, Los Angeles Homeless Services chief executive officer charged with defrauding taxpayers to pay for luxury lifestyle. Uh-oh, trouble in paradise. Chief executive officer of something, Sufer is his name. Chief executive officer of Abundant Blessings. Oh, no. Alexander Sufer was arrested at his $7 million home that he bought with funds that were supposed to be used for his nonprofit Abundant Blessings. Got it. Okay, well, he's not convicted yet. Okay? So, he's not convicted yet. So, why don't we just wait and see? And lastly, on the Chief Executive Officer segment, Chief Executive Officer, multi-Chief Executive Officer, when he's not throwing up salutes on the inauguration stage, he is running a few companies. Elon Musk had more extensive ties to... Elon Musk. I'm not sure what happened there. Elon Musk had more extensive ties to Jeffrey Epstein than previously known. Apparently, he was like, I declined an invitation to Jeffrey Epstein's child trafficking island. But as you look at the emails, it's like a little bit more like he just got kind of ghosted. He's a loser. But yeah, so anyways, even child traffickers don't want to hang out with him. I don't know, So, but focus on the good, which is that he's a chief executive officer. Think about how many people he employs out of the goodness of his heart. Chief executive officers give people jobs. They don't give as few people jobs as humanly possible to maximize profit. They give people jobs. All right, so next up we have the research segment. This is a segment where we delve into research of the day. A little bit of a tone switch, but I think it's important to retain the academic veneer of the VJP, which is so significant. So first up, separate and unequal. Moral domains differ in corresponding social judgments of others. So current research on morality supports the idea that the moral landscape is comprised of several domains, but the extent of these domains... to which these domains may be thought of as equivalent is not yet understood. Past literature suggests that there may be notable differences in the evolutionary and social development of different moral behaviors. So across 3 studies, they had participants evaluate social targets based on behaviors pertaining to the moral domains, Results showed that correspondent inferences, attributional bias, and willingness to cooperate differed across domains. Interestingly, the equality and property domains emerged distinct. Contributes to contemporary morality literature. Okay, a little bit hard to totally understand. I feel like they should be a little bit more direct. Just tell me the sort of... Okay, so they look at morality as domains. I get that. I'm just kind of looking for like a nugget. You know what I mean? So you go to the discussion section. Oh, okay. They have multiple studies, so I need the general discussion. All 3 studies, participants were more willing to attribute positive behaviors to social targets' character than negative behaviors. That's interesting. So people do bad things, and it's like, oh, they didn't mean it, but people do good things, and it's like, that shows who they are. Interesting. So good reason to do a lot of positive things. Infants as young as 18 months old demonstrate a natural desire to treat others with equal kindness and engage in cooperative acts without regard for reward. Additionally, some research has shown that children may make social judgments based on the helping behaviors they witness in others, and this may impact their willingness to approach or avoid. Researchers argue that children glean a sense of fairness from cooperative interactions and that this is used as a blueprint for resource distribution. By approximately 3 years old, children demonstrate an aversion toward inequality. These findings suggest a human tendency toward helping and showing kindness to others regardless of kin status or reciprocity. Yeah, it's really not surprising, and you don't have to be some woo-woo, people are amazing type of person. For purely cynical, selfish reasons, it makes sense that we would be wired to cooperate. Like, we cannot survive on our own. All right, next up. Chimpanzee groups achieve sustainable resource use in a common pool resource dilemma. So pretty similar, but different. Instead of just like study, they're looking specifically at chimpanzees, which are, a different species, technically. So they looked at 15 chimpanzees, a little bit of a small sample size. I would have preferred if they looked at like 100 chimpanzees personally, but, I understand. You can't get that many chimpanzees into a room or else they'll start writing Shakespeare, so. And you do not want that. We have enough Shakespeare. It's like, stop writing Shakespeare. I don't know if they don't realize that we have enough, but we have way too much Shakespeare because they keep getting these monkeys into a room to study them, and the fucking monkeys just won't stop writing Shakespeare. And it's like, how many monkeys do I have to put into a room so that some of the monkeys will stop the other ones from writing Shakespeare? There has to be a certain amount. At a certain point, some of them must start saying, hey, let's maybe write something else. Like, let's maybe write, we could use another Bible, frankly. I don't know. A constitution. I don't know. Anyway, so common pool resource dilemmas are used to study. While human strategies for overcoming common pool resource dilemmas are well studied, comparative evolutionary perspective received little attention. So, the chimpanzees could use sticks to feed from a pool of yogurt. The number of sticks equaled the number of players, and removing all the sticks triggered resource collapse, thereby creating a social dilemma. Quartets were found to maintain the resource longer than dyads. Quartets, but not dyads, success was positively associated with social tolerance. So the more people in the group, the more they needed social tolerance to distribute the stuff appropriately. That sort of supports what I'm saying about having more monkeys in the room, actually, to stop the other monkeys from writing Shakespeare. Never mind. Quartets were more successful when the dominant ape acquired the relative lowest payoff. So when the leader was willing to actually not take the largest amount and, in fact, take the least amount, that was most successful in distributing stuff to other people. Chimpanzees, I mean. The results suggest that chimpanzees respond differently to cooperative sustainability problems depending on group size, with social tolerance playing an important role. The findings have implications for studying the evolution and diversity of hominid cooperation. In particular, highlighting group size should be carefully considered in the design of non-human primate cooperation. Okay, great. Very interesting. Next up, motivation as neural context for adaptive learning and memory formation. So our memories shape our perception of the world and guide adaptive behaviors rather than being a verdicical. I think that just means like perfectly truthful. I guess we could look it up. We used to do stuff like that. Truthful. Yeah, it just means truthful. Yeah, I was right. I was right. Sorry, you know what I mean? I'm just like, I need to say I was right. Memory is selective. An accumulating body of work suggests that motivational states emerging from the interplay between internal and external demands play a critical role in determining what information is encoded in memory and how. Central to the regulation of motivational states are dopaminergic, that's like related to dopamine, so our dopamine pathways, and noradrenergic. I'm not sure if that's norepinephrine related. I believe it probably is adrenaline related. Neuromodulatory systems that can coordinate brain activity to determine how information is propagated, shaping memory outcomes. In this review, we propose that motivational states supported by the dopaminergic ventral tegmental area would facilitate the formation of flexible associative memory, while the noradrenergic locus ceruleus or something would facilitate unitized goal-relevant memory. So one area of the brain and one pathway is more associated with formation of flexible associative memory, and one is more associated with goal-relevant memory. I'm surprised. I don't know that much about neuroscience, but whatever. By considering how neuromodulatory systems can support different neural contexts, we aim to explain how motivation enables an adaptive memory system, and in bridging motivation and memory, we aim to offer a framework for insights applicable to education and clinical practice. Very interesting. Like, you're going to remember things more when it relates to your motivations. Motivational states overlaid in our experiences are crucial in shaping how we navigate, perceive, and remember the events we encounter. Motivation can be seen as a process manifesting from a confluence of internal states and external stimuli and driving an organism toward the attainment of specific goals. For example, when opening the refrigerator while feeling dehydrated, internal state, can of soda sitting in the corner, external stimulus may immediately catch your attention, motivating a desire for immediate consumption. In contrast, when you're feeling hungry, the same can of soda might not even be noticed, and it's unlikely to elicit the same behavior. Right. I agree. Nope, that's the wrong scroll. I would, I'd take another nugget. I would take another nugget from this article, frankly. Therapies. Adults given neurofeedback about ventral tegmental area activation using fMRI can learn to sustain activation of ventral tegmental area via mental simulation. That's fascinating. And former participants to the study report using these techniques in daily life. Less heroically, we can teach students and patients the ability to manipulate internalized value distribution landscapes as strategic tools, shifting flexibly from LC-driven. Wow, this actually sounds really interesting. I'd like to read this more to learn more what they mean about internally shifting your value distribution landscapes. Highly salient goal facilitate encounters. When the absence of a salient goal might facilitate initial exploratory learning, its perpetuation could result in a breadth of knowledge devoid of depth. One potential way to structure the learning context then is through the embedding of intermittent low-stakes goals like classroom quizzes that are salient but still leave room for the channeling of resources towards. Interesting. Okay. There's a lot of how do you stimulate motivation in the short term and the long term, or in ways that help people remember what it is that they're actually needing to remember. Highlight the importance of considering the temporal dynamics of neuromodulatory activity in addition to considering anatomical projections, so the time-based aspects. Not easily observed, but we have demonstrated distinct temporal components of midbrain signal modeling, the signal transform. Okay. It's really, even though I know we obviously don't get like in depth about all this stuff, I do think it's really valuable to just skim over the research, just to like turn on some parts of your brain and understand, oh, people are studying this. What does this mean? Our motivation pathway. When you go throughout your day, like, what's going on for me, cranially. Okay, lastly on the research segment, cultural moderation of demographic differences and narcissism. So this study examined demographic differences and narcissism across 53 countries with a sample of over 45,000 participants, exploring how age, gender, and social status were associated with narcissistic admiration and rivalry, and whether these associations were moderated by cultural factors like individualism and collectivism, GDP. So what they found, consistent with previous research, younger adults compared to older adults, men compared to women, and those who saw themselves as higher status compared to lower status reported higher levels of narcissism. Narcissistic admiration and rivalry followed similar demographic trends. People from higher GDP and more collectivistic cultures reported higher narcissism levels. That's sort of surprising that collectivistic cultures reported higher narcissism levels. With the latter effect challenging conventional views that narcissism is predominantly a product of individualistic societies. Okay. It's interesting. Despite variation in mean levels of narcissism, demographic differences were largely consistent across cultures. Okay, so I guess they just found that, people love themselves a little too much everywhere. And it's not loving yourself a little too much. It's being focused on yourself and so on. Relationships between demographic characteristics and narcissism were largely consistent. The study contributes to our understanding of how culture and demographics interplay. Okay, maybe the second to last. Importance of culture. Okay, I don't know. It's not just individualistic societies. In fact, it might be other. The nature of the information limits our ability to draw causal inferences about the relationships between culture. Yeah, I mean, it's quite complicated. Longitudinal studies that follow matched participants in different cultural contexts over time would be valuable in addressing this limitation and providing more nuanced understanding. For example, different social and cultural factors may exert their influence in such a way that reveals a dramatic difference between cultures. However, as noted by others, the fact that there was some degree of consistency in demographic differences across cultures makes this less likely. That is, despite dramatically different social conditions, younger adults reported more narcissism than older adults in nearly every country. That's really interesting, right? Yeah, I mean, I was for sure more narcissistic when I was younger. I definitely I would say I genuinely struggled with some amount of narcissism and it is a struggle because it makes you separate from your environment. In some ways I think I had unrealistic self-perception and I do love myself a lot and I've always had good self-esteem and love myself, but there's definitely a sense of when I was 18 or 19, I think I was delusionally thought I was special in a different way than I am special. And then we're all special. We are all special and there's something very true there. But I think there's a way to balance that with appreciation of other people's specialness that I don't think have when I was younger. And it does make sense that why is it that way and so on. It's probably very complicated, but, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely way less narcissistic now and more focused on other stuff. But that's interesting. Yeah, it's not just that even more collectivist societies could be even more narcissistic. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense that those are different levels. I mean, narcissism is such a personal, individual thing. And so your collective culture could have some effects on it, obviously, but it wouldn't determine it exactly and so on. So I mean, there's other issues that are determined by collectivism versus individualism, but all right. So that's the research segment, and we do enjoy that, and we have a good time with it. Just checking in on the research of the day. It's important. Not everything's about looking at the most recent tweets. You know what I mean? Or sometimes you got to get serious with stuff. Okay, so next up we have the one and only meditation segment, and this is something you can't get from other podcasts. Name one other podcast that does this. We pause and we just chill and just kind of take a little time to just meditate. I mean, there's a lot of incoming information on podcasts. Sometimes it's could people just relax for a second? So if you've never meditated, just chill out, take some breaths. They don't have to be deep. Just take some breaths and just kind of be, just kind of notice what's going on for yourself. And when thoughts pop into your head, just be like, 1 sec, please. You know what I mean? Just like kind of chill. It's important. Life's not just about doing stuff. We do this every week, and we're getting quite good at it here on the podcast, so subscribe, you know what I mean? Notice when you're tensing up your muscles, just relax, in your face or wherever. It's good to like let your brain relax, and let the stimulation tamp down. A lot of people say this is their favorite part of the podcast. A lot of people. Actually, like a concerning amount of people, actually. Like, I appreciate it because it's kind of a fun thing I have the idea about, but it is kind of a lot of people. The only person who doesn't like it is Donna. They're over there every time during the meditation just looking at their watch, just like visibly looking at their watch and tapping it. I can see you. It makes no difference. Makes no difference. I'm in full control of the meditation segment. It's good, I have a video on the main channel, Mental Screensavers. No one watches that one, so go back and check out that one. But meditation's good for that. What comes on? What's the screensaver that comes on in your mind when you're meditating? You know what I mean? Don't stop breathing. Don't stop breathing. That's pretty funny. That's a good meditation. Like, hold on to that feel. I guess you could just say feeling. Don't stop breathing. Oh, 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 oh. Then there could be like a verse. I'm just a small town brain. Starting to feel insane. I'm just gonna stand around and do nothing. Don't stop breathing. I know I needed to do more before I got to the chorus, but I didn't have time. Okay, let's move on. That was great. So next up we have the image segment. And this is going to be a good one. This is when we look at images. Okay, first up, quite serious. The United States government is putting out AI-assisted misinformation mocking a civil rights attorney for supposedly crying when she was arrested when she wasn't actually crying when she was arrested. The United States is arresting civil rights attorneys and then posting altered images to try to mock these people that they're persecuting. It's really next level. This is absolutely going to be in the history books, this type of thing. So let's look at it. DHS posted it. Some other government agent posted the normal image. The DHS posted the original image. And then the White House said, actually, we need a more completely altered image. So the White House posted this one on the right, or this, and if you want to see the original, let's check out the original. It's kind of unbelievable. I mean, it's really kind of unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. The government used AI to post an image of this woman crying. Republicans and centrists voted for this. They voted for this. They said, I want to vote for the government that's going to post a false image of a black woman crying to try to mock her when she's a civil rights attorney that's being persecuted by the government. Republicans and centrists don't like civil rights. They don't like black women. They don't like black people. They don't like civil rights. Of course they don't. You don't do this type of thing. If you like civil rights and if you like black women and if you like people, this is disgusting. These are a bunch of bullies. These are a bunch of loser bullies. You have to understand, they're a bunch of losers who weren't even able to be bullies. They weren't even able to be bullies. Like, they were bullies in high school are usually losers also. But there are people who are such losers that they can't even be bullies. And so they grow up and they're like, I want to be a bully. I never got to be a bully. So it's really shocking, but if you're wondering, like, this is what the White House, I mean, this was absolutely Stephen Miller. I would bet money on it. But, it doesn't matter. There's a lot of other minions. There's a lot of other, like, complete loser white boys who just have no friends, and, like, the only thing that they can imagine is being respected by like Stephen Miller. And Stephen Miller's like, well, did you post the image of the, like, mocking the black woman who's a civil rights attorney? And they're like, no, we didn't, Stephen. Should we do it? And Stephen's like, yeah, I gotta go. I gotta go take my beauty nap to listen while I'm listening to sounds of babies screaming. So yeah, if you could do that right now, that would be fantastic. Next up on the image segment, a little bit of a change of pace. 60 carved signs on stone slab defy every known script. So apparently people dug up some in southern Georgia. I assume the country. Bears dozens of symbols that have no parallel in known languages. So I just wanted to talk about this on the podcast in case you happen to know what language that is. You should write into the scientists and let them know, because I don't recognize it. What does it say? Listen to the Verbal Journal podcast. I mean, it might be. I don't know. I wouldn't say I know for sure. So yeah, I mean, if that looks familiar to you, something to check out. The Bash Plemi inscription. Most strongly toward Caucasian traditions. That's me. Especially from Georgian Mrglovani. Albanian writing systems. I was going to say it looks like Albanian or an early form of Georgian. Yeah, I was definitely going to say that. Why dating is hard. I agree. Wait. Oh, never mind. No, never mind. Sorry. Okay, next up on the image segment, world's oldest rock art discovered in Indonesian cave. I would say this is a little bit derivative, frankly. Like, I know they're saying it's the oldest art, but I do, or rock art, but it does seem kind of derivative, I would say. So unfortunately, it's going to be a no from me. This is found in the dark bowels of a limestone cave on Muna Island. Minimum age 67,800 years ago. When people had 4 hands, I guess. Rock art. People looking at that going, my kid could do that. Okay, next up on the image segment, replica of Republican President Donald Trump's birthday message to human trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. appears on National Mall. So I'm a big fan of art, you know. So if you can see, this is an image of an installation of this is a replica. The original letter that the president wrote to this child trafficker was smaller, but it was the same. It was a seemingly, we all know what this is. And it's just, you know, it's a nice image to kind of celebrate friendship and the bond between two men who enjoy hurting people. Okay, so next up we have a very interesting part of the image segment. Okay, so I have, and it's funny because I mentioned Max Ernst earlier. So Max Ernst is a painter I'm a fan of. You know, he's not perfect either. I have some things about him. I read his, you know, biographical information. I was like, okay. He's definitely not, I wouldn't say he's my favorite. And, you know, his biographical shortcomings do impact my feelings towards him. You know, I'm a fan of his paintings. And I was watching a video about a guy who famously, in the last like 20 years or something, I forget exactly when it was, made reproductions of paintings, or created new copies of artist styles. So did copies of, like, I think a Chagall, or like maybe not a Chagall, but copies of like certain painters. And you might know the guy. I forget his name. I should have had that on hand, but like it was famous. It's like the most famous case. And he was caught after a long time. Him and his accomplices fully tricked the art world by saying that they had a cache of paintings that were passed down by a guy who was persecuted by the Nazis, which did actually happen, or like a friend of a guy who was persecuted by the Nazis. So that happened. The Nazis stole a lot of paintings. So these people were saying, oh, we'll pretend that these paintings were just found and that they had been in hiding. And it's kind of brilliant because the artist was quite talented at doing reproductions, but he wouldn't do reproductions. He would do a new painting. Because if there's you would have to, right? Because you can't do a reproduction of a missing painting or something, and then you have to be like, well, where did you find it? But it's easier to say that they found this cache of paintings if they're paintings no one's seen, but they look like they're in the style of the actual painter. So he did a great job. And I wanted to specifically show you all his imitation of Max Ernst, along with several real Max Ernst paintings, and see if you can tell which is the fake Max Ernst painting and which is the real one. So check this out. Here's one, and we're specifically looking at 5 paintings of the same subject. Max Ernst was famous for painting forests. He grew up in Germany until he was a young guy, and he was like incarcerated like twice by the Nazis. So he was not a Nazi, but he grew up in Germany, and he loved the forest. And Germany has, you know, beautiful forests, and so he would often do these like sort of like surreal forests. So these are 5 paintings of surreal forests, and I'm not going to tell you how many of them are fake. Maybe I will, but let's go through the 5 of them, and you have to decide which is real and which is fake. So this one. We got this one. Okay. Very interesting style. I really love his, I don't know exactly his process, but it's often called like fraudage or gradage, which is like relating to like putting paint on the canvas and then pulling it, like putting maybe like newspaper or other materials up against the paint, pulling it off. So you get like interesting patterns of the paint that's left. And then I'm sure he was going in with a tiny brush. But what I love about his work is how he sort of like created chaos and then created order from the chaos. I'm not just trying to say that because I've been using those terms a lot in my recent stuff, but like that's actually what it was. And it's so, you know, that's what I love is like kind of having randomness, but then not total randomness. Like you do some randomness, then you get really like a control freak about what you see and trying to show more of what you see, accentuating aspects of it. So using randomness, but also using extreme control. And here's another one. And here's another one. And here's another one. So that's 5 paintings of forests. Let's go back through them the other direction. Okay. Okay. More forests. So which one of these do you think is fake? I'll just say there's one of them that's fake. Unless I'm mistaken, one of these is fake. Okay. So we'll say this is 1. 2, 3, 4, 5. 4, 3, 2, 1. Which do you think are fake? Or which one do you think is fake? So, no, I need to tell you that only one's fake. Because that's, especially if you're not familiar with Max Ernst. So, look at these 5 and try to find which one doesn't fit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which one do you think is fake? All right, ready for the answer? Maybe I'll do it by ruling it out. It's not this one. It's not 1. It's not 2. Okay. Is it 3? No, it's not 3. What about 4? What about 4? So it's either 4 that's the fake one or 5 that's the fake one. Which do you think? 4 that's the fake one or 5 that's the fake one? Can I call a friend? Can I phone a friend? 5? Well, it's 4. 4 is the fake one. And it's a little audacious that this guy went for this, cuz like there's a bit of saturation in these colors that Max Ernst wouldn't necessarily use. The way they eventually caught this reproduction painter is he used a type of white in one of his paintings that wasn't invented at that time. It wasn't, I forget if it was titanium white or zinc white or whatever it was, but it wasn't a type of white that was used yet. And people analyze that shit because they have a lot of time on their hands, and these things sell for tens of millions of dollars. So credit where credit's due. Amazing painting, amazing copy of Ernst style, but you can sort of tell. I mean, look, Max Ernst used saturated colors. I'm sure you could find plenty of paintings where he used yellows and oranges like this, but there's something that's off sensibility-wise. There's something that's off. Also, like, the way that these lines are curved feels a little different. I mean, obviously, like, there's so much more rigidity to the real Ernsts. And you see the circle motif, right? Use in the negative space. I mean, certainly he uses circles that are not negative space too. This one to me almost looks fake, but it's apparently not. And still, again, see like the complete lack of differentiation. Like it's so subtle. I shouldn't say lack. The very, very subtle, darks, changes in the darks versus in the fake one, it's not as subtle. It's more obvious. It just looks a little bit too happy. So fake Ernst, but cool painting, but kind of not as cool as the real ones. But yeah, these are not my favorite Ernsts. What is it? View from the city. A view of the city or something. Oh, the entire city. I'm sorry. Yeah, again, this is a series. I'm sure he did, a bunch. This is a great one that I saw in person in Zurich. I saw this one in Zurich, and I believe it was, unless he has like extremely identical ones in this series. But it was, it's beautiful. He's just been okay. He's been so I mean, it's just beautiful. It's fast. No, wait, this isn't the one I saw. Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. See the little iguana there? Very cool, very nice. So that's okay. And then one last thing in the image segment here: Milky Way shines over Gemini South Observatory. Photo of the day a couple days ago. I just wanted you to see this. This is the world we're living in. This is the universe we're living in. More like it. This is Skies Above Chile. Panorama shows the breathtaking views of the Milky Way. So, you might not see it when you look up into the sky, but we are living in a universe full of stars and galaxies. Okay? And that's what they don't want you to know. And the fake news media is not talking about this. But we are. Okay. How are we doing? Next up is the audiovisual segment. And this is a great time People love this. Okay. First up, I got a crowd pleaser. Okay. We're going to watch a clip of Vince Gilligan and Rhea Seehorn. I've been pronouncing her name wrong a lot. And this is great. Kim or Carol. So I don't know what to expect here, but that's awesome. I was saying, obviously, it's hard for me to like see her as Carol, but I am starting to do it. What a fucking dope outfit. Holy shit, Rhea Seehorn. I like Vince's outfit too, to be fair. But yeah, like her dress and the way it matches, that's super cool. Okay, so let's see, Kim or Carol. Let's see how I do here. I don't know if I'll be able to participate. I don't know how this works.
Hi, Vince Gilligan here, creator of the new show Pluribus, and I'm here with the lovely Rhea Seehorn.
Hi.
We're going to play a little game. This is a game called Kim or Carol. I'm going to ask you a question, and you're going to tell me, was it something Kim Wexler would do from Better Call Saul, or is it something that Carol Sturka from Pluribus would do?
Okay, so it's hypothetical. That makes sense. It has to be hypothetical stuff they would do, because she would know what they actually did, because she played both characters.
Let's do this.
Blank sends herself a postcard whenever she goes on vacation.
Carol.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't have time to answer.
Send herself a postcard.
Hold on. Hold on.
Not a big.
Okay. Sorry. There was a lag issue, and also she answered so quickly that I couldn't. So, sending herself a postcard when she goes on vacation. I cannot imagine Kim going on vacation. But also, Kim does not seem quirky in that way where she would write herself a postcard just to have it. So definitely see that more as Carol. She answered it really quick. So why did Vince take issue with that? Let's see.
Blank sends herself a postcard whenever she goes on vacation.
Carol.
Okay.
Yep.
Why would you send yourself a postcard?
You're not upstairs. You've never done that?
Wait, Vince says, why would you send yourself a postcard? That's not the question, Vince. I mean, that's not the question here. But yeah, obviously as a memento. But yeah, okay, let's keep going. Vince doesn't think either character would do it, I guess.
You're not upstairs. You've never done that?
No, is that a thing?
Not a big thing, but it's a thing.
Her favorite flavor of sparkling water is Coke.
Is coconut sparkling water. I could see that as Kim. You know, she's like working long hours. She wants a little treat.
Coconut.
No one. That should not exist.
Yeah.
You don't like coconut?
Not so much. Nope.
So who came up with this? Who came up with stuff that would hypothetically be done by the characters that's not Vince or the actor playing the character? What?
Blank can do this.
They didn't answer it?
Exist.
You don't like coconut?
Not so much. Nope.
Great editing, I mean, I guess.
Blank can do the Saturday crossword in under...
Can do the Saturday crossword in under 16 minutes. That would have to be Carol. She's more plugged into like pop culture than Kim.
16 minutes.
I would say both. What do you think?
Yeah, well, they're both smart ladies, but I would think Kim.
Yeah, I think Kim probably does it and times it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good point. I guess we just don't hear Kim like talking a lot of pop culture stuff, but yeah, she might be like more motivated to like time those types of things.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right, yeah. Blank cuts a cupcake in half and smushes it together so the icing is in the middle.
Who came up with this? Smushes it together so the icing is in the middle. Some fucking Lalo? I don't know. That's some dark shit. I mean, Carol. That's something someone with like addiction would do, I would say.
Middle.
That's a thing? Okay, Carol.
Yeah. Nice. This is so much fun.
Carol?
Yeah, she just seems messier than Kim. That seems like a very messy operation.
Well, actually, yeah, you're right, because in episode 6, that great thing you do with the avocado toast.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. Wow, this is so interesting. Yeah, that is like a good analogy.
Yeah, yep.
Blank
That's such a great scene, yeah.
hates group exercise class.
Hates group exercise class. That's Carol for sure. Kim would be all right.
Both. Both with vehemency, I would presume.
You have no idea.
Blank read every single Nancy Drew book as a kid.
Oh, Kim. Well, okay, that could. Carol's an author. That's both. That's both.
Kim.
Okay, or Kim. Yeah, I mean, she's actually isn't Nancy Drew like an investigator? So yeah, that's more Kim. But I mean, Carol's an author, so it's a little hard.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Blank loves peeling a sun.
These are really interesting. Okay, that's got to be Carol because it's. But I feel like Kim does some like slightly painful stuff. I'm trying to think of what it is, but no, I mean that's more Carol. I feel like reveling in like a painful feeling.
Burn.
Carol.
All right.
I have a feeling she picks at lots of things. She's obsessive in a different way than Kim is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're both a little.
I bet you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Blank was one answer away from a perfect SAT
Oh, that's Kim.
score.
Kim.
Yeah, I would say so.
You don't save me. I save me.
Blank was obsessed with Pompeii as a
Oh, that's Carol because it's so dark.
kid.
Oh, Kim? What would you say?
You know what? That one could go either way because,
She did like
Carol-
films where everybody dies a lot.
yeah, that's true. And she's real smart and she's
Yeah.
knows a lot of things. But Carol's smart too. Carol's into that whole. Well, you know, she writes about pirates.
Yeah, and
you know,
speculative historic fiction. Yeah, maybe Carol. I'm changing. I'm going Carol.
Okay.
Yep, and that's what I said. So I agree. Sorry about the lag, by the way, but you know what I mean. You can hear it. It's not a big deal. Yeah.
Blank went through a goth phase.
Oh, I mean that's got to be Carol. I'd love to see Kim going through a goth phase, but that's got to be Carol.
That's a good one.
Kim.
Yep. Yeah.
Really? I guess Carol's still in the goth phase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Blank.
She'd be so upset if you found photos, though.
Yeah.
Did you go through a goth phase?
No, but I went through a techno house music club phase.
Oh, yeah.
Hooray
That's
for
true.
you.
All right. Blank collects tiny things.
That's Kim.
Ray. I definitely love miniature everything. I think it's from growing up in Japan. Things miniaturized.
I did not know Ray grew up in Japan. That's cool.
I just love it so much. And I know that's a whole thing online now. It's like how tiny people can make clay food and stuff. It's fascinating.
Blank composts.
Oh, wait. I mean, it can't be Carol. It can't be Carol. It's Kim or neither.
Carol, I think she does a hell of a lot of things to stall not sitting down at her desk and writing.
Okay. Okay, there you go. See, she has a much deeper sense of the character than I do. I just think she would be cynical. She wouldn't think it would help the world, so she wouldn't
That's
do
the
it.
best writer answer ever.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's.
I think she organizes closets, like anything to not go sit back down and write.
So, last question.
Oh.
Blank subscribes to a physical newspaper.
I could not see Kim doing that.
Should we stop here and explain what a newspaper is?
Yeah, right? Yeah. I still subscribe to the Times.
Do you?
Times, yeah.
She says it under her breath. She's embarrassed. You should be. I mean, the New York Times is a rag.
Do you just online or do you get the paper?
No, I have to get the paper because I cannot. I do the crosswords every day, and I can't stand to do them digitally.
Oh, okay.
I think both. Can I say
Okay.
both? I think both. I think.
No, you
Carol.
you can't say both.
No, you can't, and you have several times. I think both of you have, frankly.
Feels analog. Even though she writes on a computer, she just feels. Because
Yeah.
it's another thing to bitch about.
Yeah.
Which she loves. That's her favorite hobby.
Yes. You're telling us to wrap it up here.
What?
Yes.
This is fascinating.
That was great. I wasn't actually. I kind of forgot what clip I had saved, and that was a lot of fun because I got to participate, which is the most important thing. Because this is my podcast. Great job, and thank you. Okay, next up on the audiovisual segment, the President of the United States is completely with it, just completely with it. So let's watch him talk about Greenland. And I'm sure you saw this clip, but I just had to play it to preserve this. The Republican President Donald Trump talking about Greenland at a speech. Okay, Greenland's been in the news because the United States is threatening to annex this territory because it's a distraction. It's a pure distraction. And, a way to get money to a few oligarchs, but mostly a distraction. And then a way to manipulate the market also, even if it never happens. But let's see the president talk about Greenland.
I'm helping NATO, and I've until the last few days when I told them about Iceland, they loved me.
So just keep in mind, he is talking about Greenland. Do you need me to pull up a map? Hold on, let me just help. Hold on, I'm just Googling something really quick. Is Greenland Iceland? Hold on. Is Greenland Iceland? We'll just kind of see what Google says. Okay. Huh. No, that doesn't. Okay. So what I'm getting here is no. That they're different. They differ in geography, size, political status, and they are separate places, not the same entity. We don't need to see a map. So you have Greenland. And then where's Iceland on that map? Iceland versus Greenland. Let me see a map, though. This is Greenland. Map of Iceland. And then Iceland's here. I see. So this is one thing, and then this is the other. I see. They're separate. There's a blue thing in between, which I assume is water. Wow, that's fascinating. They are distinct places. Okay. You learn something new every day. So let's just check that out. Because he said it once. And that's, look, saying it one time, people have been making a big deal out of this, but he said it one time. Everyone could slip up once. They're close to each other. They both end in land. He said it one time. Okay, so let it go.
They called me daddy, right, last time?
Oh, I forgot about that part. Yeah. As someone who's been talking about the psychosexual aspect of people's loyalty to this goon, and who, I put Death Daddy in my thumbnail about Trump's COVID press conferences, I'm not too surprised by this. Obviously, Tucker Carlson said Daddy's home and he's going to spank us when they were looking forward to voting for him again. So it's very clear that this is a perverted issue for a lot of people, where they're processing their disgusting relationships with authority. So this isn't surprising to me, but yeah, I do wonder how Republicans and centrists feel about him calling himself daddy, if it brings up some little feelings for them.
Very smart man said, he's our daddy. He's running it. I was like running it. I went from running it to being a terrible human being. But now what I'm asking for is a piece of ice, cold and poorly located, that can play a vital role in world peace and
Sorry, getting a little loading here. It's just a lot of really deep ideas that are being expressed, so it takes the computer a while to kind of process it, just like it might take us a while to process it. Sometimes when politicians are...
World protection. It's a cold and poorly located that can play a vital role in world peace and world protection. It's a very small ask compared to...
So he's obviously reading a script, because the daddy thing was not on the script, and then he went back to the script. So it's very obvious.
What we have given them for many, many decades.
Then he looks away.
I don't know that they'd be there for us. They're not there for us on Iceland, that I can tell.
So that was not in the script.
Our stock market took the first dip yesterday because of Iceland.
So I think we could all misspeak sometimes. We could all misspeak, but if you say it like over and over, at that point, what you're revealing about yourself is, it's not even that you don't know the difference between the two things. It's that you're actually not hearing yourself talk, which, like, again, it always happens once or twice, but like to speak at length, let alone at a major event. and not hear yourself is kind of wild.
So Iceland's already cost us a lot of money. So we want a piece of ice for world protection, and they won't give it. We've never asked for anything else, and
He's like a little baby.
we could have kept that piece of land.
Yeah, I guess I just look forward to...
And we didn't, so they have a choice. You can say yes, and we will be very appreciative, or you can say no, and we will remember.
Such a little, like, impotent baby. Well, I look forward to all the Republicans and centrists who love talking about Joe Biden's mental decline. It's been really cool to see them all talking about, because they're really not biased. Like, they're just people who really care about the cognitive abilities of our politicians. They were not just selectively focused on Democrats. Like, there are so many people who are really truthfully focused on the cognitive abilities of our politicians. That's why you see them all talking about this. All the same Republicans and centrists who are super focused on Joe Biden's mental acuity are also talking about Donald Trump's mental acuity, right? We all see that. They're all talking about it. To me, that's all a ridiculous distraction, because when you vote for a president, you're voting for the 10,000 people closest to them. Okay, so I don't give a fuck. I mean, I care a little bit how, like, mentally sharp a president is, but I'm not a little baby. Like, I can understand, like, you're voting for the 10,000 people around the president. You're not voting for the president. So, like... Okay, next up on the audiovisual segment, what is this? Just a little clip? What's this? What do we got here?
I know a lot about lying and propaganda.
Oh, okay. Just kind of good to know. Just an interesting thing. And, okay, well, like, that's nice that I guess he's being open about that. Cool. I guess that's kind of normal thing to know about. Okay, lastly on the audiovisual segment, Amy Poehler and Claire Danes talk about I Think You Should Leave in the Chair Company, so I thought we should do some Chair Company stuff. Apparently, Amy Poehler has a podcast. I didn't realize I had competition here. I thought I was the only one with a podcast, but apparently she has a podcast. And here she is talking about I Think You Should Leave in the Chair Company. Let's see what she has to say.
Is there anything that you watch? I know you are a big listen to podcasts. Is there anything you watch, like, just for, like, kind of brain checkout fun?
So what? Okay. I know you.
We're getting some lag.
Ask this sometimes, so I had a prepared answer. There is.
You're the only person that's ever prepared. I want you to know.
Amy Poehler is very funny. I honestly don't know Claire Danes that well, but Amy Poehler is very funny. And yeah, I am sorry about the lag. We'll figure it out. I'll be getting a tech guy here. I believe I'll be getting a tech guy.
It's Claire.
But is it okay? Tim Robinson.
Yes.
So he has this. There's this one sketch.
Yeah.
From the show.
Which one?
Focus Group.
Incredible. Look, you
Focus
just got
group.
to O. You just got to O. From that.
We watch this all the time
Now,
in our family.
Do your kids watch it?
Well, so all the kids are allowed to watch this. So Cyrus is. So we tuck the little guys in,
Yeah.
and then we have like special mature viewing hour, and it started with
That's
like
nice.
The Simpsons and.
That's nice. Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit, there might be a little swearing, and I think you should leave.
Oh,
then
The
it was
Simpsons is always the gateway.
Yeah, only murders in the building. Omit.
This is really not ideal, you know?
Which is basically Scooby Doo for grown-ups, and it's great. And then Hugh, English Husband, introduced him to Monty Python stuff. He got really into that.
Yes.
But now we've been watching, mostly because of this focus group, his latest show.
Oh, God.
Which is The Chair Company.
Claire, I don't know how old your kids are, but at the end of like episode 6, there is a shot of like a full, like a pornographic scene. I just wanted to give you a heads up in case you're watching my podcast. So just make sure that's appropriate for your kids, because there's a scene of like someone performing oral sex on a very large, or I would say like an average, definitely like an average sized penis, prosthetic penis, but so just make sure your kids are old enough for that. I would not want to watch that with my family members of any age, but it is brief. It's a brief shot, and it's essential to formulating Mike's character. So
Company.
Yeah, which there was a
So
not safe for
yes.
work
okay, Amy immediately knows as well.
moment in that show.
I mean, the whole genius of the show is that it takes you in very quickly to places that you are not prepared for. So
Totally.
we're all like cuddling in bed.
Oh no!
And then there is this giant erect penis.
It actually wasn't fully erect. Let's just kind of fact check that briefly. I don't know if it was fully erect.
He says, "Close your eyes, everybody, close your eyes."
That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, that must have happened to a lot of people. Like, it was completely out of nowhere. You definitely were not expecting it.
Close your eyes.
It was intense. We're still recovering.
Yeah.
Was intense.
But
Yeah. Well, that's hilarious. That is hilarious. And a great way to end the audiovisual segment today. So, got to be careful about those Tim Robinson shows. Definitely got to be careful about those Tim Robinson shows. You never know what's going to happen. And I thought I had to warn her, but she's been through it already. So, all right, a couple more things before we get out of here. I like to do a follow-up segment where I follow up on the previous episode. There wasn't any big error to follow up on this time. There was just the point where I'm like watching this argument between Anna Kasparian and Pearl Davis, and I randomly stumbled across like a website with like weird AI articles about Pearl Davis. I just wanted to say, it says it's people, and I forgot to point this out during the video. Like, this is obviously not People magazine. Like, the article itself is on decidat.com/newsrx/170126- meet Pearl Davis' husband. Like, wait, what? Oh, Google just wants to like analyze it for me? Weird. Yeah, it's just an AI article that's pretending to be, well, like viruses on my computer now. It's an AI article that is not actually on people's website, and I don't know if Carolyn Schultz is a real person, but they're pretending to be people.com, and then it's an AI website. So it's just funny that when you click people, it goes to decidat.com. So that's the world we're living in these days. Just kind of something to think about. And right on. So mailbag. This is when I do the mailbag. So people write into verbaljournalpodcast@gmail.com. And I say, oh, hey, thanks for writing in. And then I kind of like respond, and it's a lot of fun. No one wrote in today. Great. This is a long episode already. So you can write in. We'll normally take improv suggestions, but this is already a very long episode. So I'll be doing improv on the next episode, on the private episode. So we'll have a private episode for patrons and members next week and the week after before coming back to the public. So feel free to become a member, become a patron, support this work if you'd like to. No pressure at all if not. And if you currently support the work, you can stop at any time. You're allowed to. That's cool thing about me. I let people stop giving me money if they want to. So let me start with the members of the What's Therapy channel on the YouTube. It's thank you to the Judo Joker, Rhea, the Carbon Creed, Real Coleycraft, Somewhat Entertainment, Jasmine, Simply Snaps, Gerbo, Hollow Moon, and Pit Inhabitant. And thank you to the patrons. Thank you so much. Patrons over on Patreon. Andreas, Not Dirty Harry, Bean Machine, Gripe Juice, Majid, PC, Janie, JCS, M, Ben's Life, Brandon, Felix, Marcy Bun, Stepan, Cool Beans, Spaghetti Gal, Isabel, Milky Way, Ryan, Grace, Garrett, Simply Snaps, Parker, Dakota, Aiden, Noah, Burrow, Perpetually Jackson, A. Icelack. Computer's very laggy. MK, Matt. I hate technology, honestly. It's so annoying. This is why I like painting. You know what I mean? You're never like, oh, I'm getting some lag. X, Noah, Anastasius, King, Tom, Hugh, Redgrove, Elemancy, Platinum, Sarge, Rabid Dog, Andrew, Ian, Russ, Irene, MJ, Ludwig, Ryan, Madeline, Brent, Molly, Ashley, Scott, Thulu, Saurus, Rex, Miles, and User. Appreciate y'all. You really, I do appreciate it. Thank you so much for supporting this work. It means a lot. And thank you to everyone just for listening and, you know, enjoying my work however you do. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll take care of the lag. We'll get a tech guy in here. We'll figure that out. Make sure it's completely resolved. Okay, well, you know, thanks for listening. I hope you had a great time. This was really fun for me. And you know, I'm sort of the biggest fan of this podcast, to be honest. So feel free to challenge me for that title. And have a good rest of your life until you're back here next week, or you know, go watch the YouTube videos or something. You know, but all right. Thanks for your time and everything like that. Okay. Bye bye. This is a podcast or something.